So we're good. We're here. This is the Cerebral Spice Rack. This is my new podcast that I've come up with. I'm going a little intro really quick, just to tell you guys why I started it. Basically came out of nowhere last week. I had thought about starting a podcast a couple months ago, but I didn't think of any ideas for it. And then last week I just had this vision when I woke up, and I just kind of laid it out all in my head, and you guys saw the post last week about it, and we're here now. So I really wanted to bring up myself, my family, my friends with this, and to inform all you guys, what's really going on in the world. And it's not just going to be about news, it's going to be about a lot of stuff. It's going to be, this first episode is going to be about protests, but it's going to be about a lot of stuff: politics, news, current events. Harry's DJ, he's pop culture, so we're going to be getting some DJ streams in this. Philosophy, science. I want this to be like a really inclusive stream and podcast, so a lot of people can engage with it. And that being said, I want it to be really open. If you guys want to comment anything, Harry's back here. He's producing, so he'll get the comment that we can discuss. So just leave anything that you want us to say on the comments, and we'll get to it if it's a good one. Don't No bad comments.
No clowning around.
No clowning around. And we're always open to guests. So if you ever want to come on for something that you think is really important, then hit me up and we'll bring you on. But anyways, I'm done with the intro. Let's get into the Spice Rack. So I'm gonna introduce myself real quick. My name's Everett Heath. Currently unemployed, but I'm starting this podcast. I graduated from Humboldt State with a degree in microbiology, bachelor's of science, and I've been in politics for the last 6 years, a lot of libertarian politics. That's basically me. Harry?
Hey, I'm Harrison, aka Big GHARZ, local DJ producer for the last 10 years making music, 5 years DJing, event coordinating for about the last 3. Just trying to build the community and everything, and trying to branch out and more or less build a positive platform for everybody. So, yeah.
And Gunnar?
Heyo, my name's Gunnar. I currently work at Zoomy Skate Shop here in Pismo Beach. Do concert and music photography on the side. I've been doing that since April of 2018. So if you know anybody who needs photos done for any occasion, hit me up. I'll be glad to do it. Just wanted to do this podcast with Harrison and Everett to talk about politics and a lot of current events and how just the world is affecting different stuff like music and concerts, and how it's affecting kids going to school, and how me growing up in a time without COVID versus kids growing up in a time with COVID, the differences and why it was better growing up without it than with it, et cetera, et cetera.
But
just want to talk about all that stuff, bring it to light.
And then, and Matt, introduce yourself. We got him on Discord. He's calling in right now from San Diego.
What's
up,
up, Matt?
How's it going, guys? Yeah, I'm Matt. I've been successfully unemployed for most of my life. Right now I'm going through my first year in law school down here in San Diego. Really excited to be here. It's a little break from the stress, and I've been out of politics for about 2 years. Used to be a libertarian, but went to one of their convention, and I was successfully dissuaded from that point of view. So I guess I used to be more like Everett, and now not so much.
Not so much. A shame, really. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so we're all introduced. We're going to get into it. So this episode, it's called Unheard, America Lashes Out, and it's about the protests that started over George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. It's a very serious issue. It's something I've really been wanting to talk about at length, especially with my friends and family that weren't there at the actual protest to see what was happening, because we had it on the ground. We had on the ground experience of we got to see what actually happened, who was there, who was participating, who the leaders were. So I'm gonna get to all that. We're gonna show you guys all this. So let's really get into it. So the first thing I wanted to show you guys, and this is gonna be serious, man. So we're getting right into it. So this is contacts between police and the public, and this is where we're starting out here. So basically, as you can see here, in 2015 there were over 250 million interactions with the police, And this is just a general statistic, but it's showing you how many interactions there are with police on a yearly basis.
That's a lot. Like, what's the population of the U.S.? Like 400 million?
Yeah, it's about 370 million.
That's
so
a lot of people.
So it's almost an interaction per person. And of course you have repeat offenders on there. So it's not going to be every person getting an interaction with police.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys can see this. This is straight from the .gov website, the Bureau of Justice Statistics.
BJS.
I'm not going to try to mislead you guys with anything, so I'm just trying to give you guys the stats.
Straight facts.
And one thing I wanted to bring up right here was the reported non-crime. So these are people that are calling the police and reporting something that isn't a crime. So police are coming out to these whatever is going on, when there's no crime involved. There's nothing on the books, and this is where some of these bad interactions between police and the public come into. I mean, you can see right there. That's 3.5% of 250 million. That's a crazy statistic.
I think a good example of the reported non-crimes would be like Trayvon Martin. That case, how they just spotted him out on the sidewalk and they called him in. Yeah. And he was on the phone with him, and he went to go do it himself or whatever. But still, like, he wasn't doing anything. Mm-hmm. He was just minding his own business. He was wearing a hoodie, just walking down the street.
Yeah.
Being stereotyped or whatever.
And the vigilante chose to do something that was not in his jurisdiction and really shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying the police could have done any better, but, we really got to address what the actual problems are, and this is a big problem right here with how many interactions there are between the public and police.
Yeah, just in general.
Yeah. So we'll get into the next little source here. Was there anything you wanted to add to that, Matt?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, for the non-crime, is that when police are called for something that doesn't account to an arrest, or is that just when someone calls the police on something that is actually not a crime?
Yeah, like say somebody calls the police for somebody peeling a banana. That's a bad example, but...
Or like a homeless person diving into a trash can. Like, you can't really do anything about that.
I'm pretty sure that's against the law.
It does depend, like, if it's on your property or it's on the street, like, that type of deal. Mm-hmm. It's still not that big of a cause for the police to come out to your home.
Yeah.
If you were to call them for something like that.
It's not like if someone breaks a window and they don't, or someone...
No, yeah. That's because that's an obvious crime, destruction of property. So, that 3.5% of that 250 million are just being called for things that are not crimes. They're interactions that do not have to be had with police. And, because that's, I think, is one of the main causes of all of this police brutality, is just too many interactions with police because there's too many laws. And so the next source we got here is from the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences of the United States of America. It's called The Risk of Being Killed by Police, Use of Force in the United States by Age, Race, Ethnicity, and Sex. And the main graphic I wanted to show you guys is right here. So as you guys can clearly see, African Americans are on the top of this, having the most lifetime risk of being killed by police. And I think a lot of people would attribute this to a racial cause. Which it could be, but I don't think there has been enough evidence to point to that. I think it's more of a socioeconomic problem, because you have a lot of these police interactions are happening in the lower economic areas, the more impoverished areas, and those are more demographically African American. So, when there's a police officer that's black that arrests, a black criminal, and there's a black police chief, it's really hard to make a racial argument based on that. But a socioeconomic argument makes a lot more sense, because there's just more total interactions being done there. And that's not saying it's not wrong. It's still wrong for these things to be happening, even if it's not for a racial cause. Mm-hmm. So we just wanted to put that up there. It's almost, African Americans are almost double the chance of being killed by whites by police. And this is just a statistic that we have to just, we have to lower. Like, this is what this whole protest has been about, but police, being brutal to the public and killing people, really. So, I don't know, do you guys have anything to add to this graphic right here?
So what you were saying with, like, the black chief and like black on black crime, all of that being together.
I mean, I'm not really bringing up black on black crime. It's
no,
more...
I was saying like if every person is black in that tier, or the tree of justice. You're saying like it's not a very good example of that being like a racial problem.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's not really a way to prove that in like a giant demographic place where like Lompoc, where I don't know percentage off my head, but when I was a kid there, it seemed like I don't know 70% of the people were Latinos.
Oh my god.
I was outnumbered more or less. But
well, the main example
brutality-wise?
being that, if you have a black officer arresting a black person, there's black chief, run by a majority of minority people.
Uh-huh.
It's much harder to make a racial argument for why that's happening rather than a socioeconomic one. But anyways, that's just a little intro to what was going on, what started all this stuff. Did you have anything to add to this little graphic, Matt?
For sure. I think that what a lot of people, what you're describing with the socioeconomic circumstances that has resulted in many black people succumbing to this type of violence and these interactions, I think that's what a lot of people consider to be systematic racism, where it's like, it's not the individual themselves being racist, but the system, the socioeconomic system that you're presenting is what a lot of people would define as systematic racism.
Yeah.
I guess you could see it that way.
Yeah. I mean, and I have an argument against that, but I don't know. I think it's a little off topic. But anyways, all of this is bad. People shouldn't be getting killed by the police no matter what race they are. I mean, we were just watching a lot of examples before this on YouTube of all the police brutality, and it's sad and infuriating to watch. And it really shouldn't be happening. We should be doing everything in our power to reduce the amount of violence that's done by cops. The wrong violence. Obviously, violent criminals, you have to deal with them. But you cannot deal with the main public, the peaceful public, the way you deal with violent criminals. And we're going to show you a little bit and explain to you a little bit of our experience at the protests. So yeah, let me get you guys a little video on this. You guys can watch something here while we're talking. So yeah, these were the protests in Slow. We were at this protest here. Here, I'll pause it for a sec because I kind of want to get into.
Just letting you know, the video will be delayed for me about 20 seconds. It looks like.
Okay. Got it. So basically, the George Floyd thing happened. It was May 25th. And we all saw that video. It was more than just disappointing. It was infuriating to watch, a man being killed by, the state, basically, that's all I can say. I mean, it was disgusting, really. And I actually went to the bank. I think it was the day before this. It was May 31st. And I was riding through downtown Slow, and I saw all the protesters coming through, and I was like, oh, wow, there's a protest going on. I started following them, and I actually put it out on a live video when that happened. I was with them. I really didn't know that something big like that came to Slow until I was actually there. So the next day, I organized, all my friends, me, my brother, a couple of my other friends, and my dad to come through to this protest right here. And the whole protest all day, it was very peaceful. I mean, we'll watch some of this. You can see here the cops were all lined up. We were all right here. We were probably right behind this.
Pretty intimidating.
Yeah, but the whole day behind this, see, this is all bullshit.
Yeah.
These cops sitting down because they shot at us.
It's all for video.
You're gonna see this in a little bit. This was a couple hours before.
Right there.
It's all publicity. When these people shot at us just a few hours later. And of course, we had, we participated in this too. We were laying down on the street. That was about at like 4 o'clock. And you can see here.
Keeps progressively getting.
Yeah, and you guys can see right here how nothing gets initiated by the protesters. The cops just start moving in because they're telling everybody to leave, but we have a constitutional right to be here. you know, it's a different story on freeways because you know, you're stopping up traffic. Okay, you can see here. I have a better video that we're gonna go to after this, but as you can see, that's Harry, right there.
Yeah,
Harry
right
and a couple of our friends. I think my dad's right up there.
Walking really slow, waiting for my dad because he didn't know how to turn around fast enough.
Yeah, so I dipped out right when they started shooting. I just got scared. I had all my gear on and everything, but when they started shooting, I just dipped. I dipped down the street. I didn't leave the area, but I dipped out a little bit. As you can see, they're shooting paintballs. At first, I thought the cops were throwing the fireworks at us, but apparently, you know, it was our people throwing the fireworks at them, which is kind of justified on our part. Like, I would have done.
Oh man.
I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, when you start going after innocent kids on the street, like
right.
we were, it's not right. It's not right.
Especially when they say to get on the sidewalk and you'll be safe on the sidewalk, and you still shoot at us.
That was another thing. They told us that if we were on the sidewalks, nothing would happen to us. But they started moving everybody off the sidewalks, including my dad, who got shot a few times
By a rubber bullet, which they reported that they did not shoot.
Yeah, it was such complete bullshit. That
took pictures
I think it was the Tribune or
Mustang News.
KSBY. Somebody said that it was the police chief that said they weren't using rubber bullets. When we were there, we felt the rubber bullets coming on us.
Yeah.
Man, we felt the pepper balls, we felt the tear gas. It was there. Like, I had goggles, but, you know, we were breathing in that tear gas. It was right there, and it's completely unjustified in my view. And
podcast burp.
we got another video. It's a little bit better of a view here, because you can see exactly where it started here. So something happened. I think some girl passed out, and the cops kind of moved in just to make sure she was okay. But from the last video, as you can see, I don't know how long that cut was, but that definitely happened right before they moved in. Yeah, as you can see, people are getting ready. That's basically my setup. I had goggles, gloves. This was not like any other protest. You know, you've seen the protests in Portland and Seattle and Minneapolis and whatnot, where, you know, the people are actually assaulting the police officers. That did not happen here at all.
Everybody was just chilling.
There was nothing that gave these police officers a right to do what they're doing now, as you see.
No, it's complete and utter.
It's wrong.
Bullshit.
It's wrong. At this point, they're hurting innocent people and they're hurting innocent kids. Like,
authoritarian.
it's completely wrong. See, and being in the street, in city streets, there's always a way around. Okay, and I can understand why the cops would want to get people off the freeway, because you're in effect holding people hostage on the freeway when you go protest out there, because there's nowhere for them to go. They can't turn around. There's nowhere there for them to go. So.
And that was like the first day. You could see like everybody was out there, like.
Mm-hmm. You know, everybody was.
There
out.
were so many people.
There were libertarians, of course. I had a friend that was a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
That was there. We were all there to support George Floyd, to be against this brutality right here. What they did actually inspired the rest of my friend group to keep protesting for the rest of the week. Since they shot at us, it was just.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hey, you're logged into Harrison's Facebook, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just tagged him in a video from the front line of that happening. If you want to.
Okay.
Yeah, and this was from the actual front line of the police shooting the rubber bullets and everything.
Oh, this is the guy.
This is
the front guy, huh?
Yeah, this is my friend who posted this video.
Damn.
So let's full screen this. I mean, this is the third time you guys are seeing this. I mean, obviously, look at the gas coming out.
Yeah.
We were right in the middle of all that.
Yeah, this is the people. I was not here at this protest. I just know about it through the news and through friends who were actually at the event.
Mm-hmm.
Shit's crazy.
Yeah. So anyways, you guys get the idea of what happened in Slow. It was just completely unjustified from the officers, what they did. And that caused us to go out and protest the rest of the week. Even though I'm going to get into a little bit of the protesters' leader here, and how I don't think she led a good protest at all. And her name's Tiana Areta, and I think she deserved to be arrested because she put people's lives in harm. And I'm gonna show you a video here in a bit. But anyways, the rest of the protest went pretty peaceful. All of the cops were being super nice to us the rest of the week. It was just like...
they would ride by on their bikes, just wave and smile like nothing happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, man.
It was sick. When they knew what they did to us, it's just wrong. So anyways, I would show... Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I was just wondering what steps were taken to organize this protest, and were police given any notification, or was the city given any notification that you were going to be having this?
So yes, I'm pretty sure the leader of the protest, Tiana Reda, and some of her colleagues informed the police department, informed the mayor that they were going to be having these protests. They said where they were going to be. They were going to be out on streets, which is constitutionally protected. Yeah, so they knew. The cops knew. We knew. So for them to just try to shoo everybody off like that with violence is completely wrong in my view. But anyways, did you have anything else to add in that?
So within the blocks that you were taking over, were there any like residential houses along there?
There were, yes. It was right next to the police station. Actually, that's where the protest was happening. It was right next to the police station.
So if I have my house next to the police station, I wouldn't have access to park my car in the parking lot if I was caught outside the protest?
You know what? Yeah, you're right on that. So the people in the direct vicinity of the protest, they probably had their lives disrupted for sure. But I think the disruption that the cops caused was a lot more than what we caused. Because they started shooting tear gas out in front of these people's homes.
Yeah.
Started pepperballing these people's homes.
Which could have done property damage on top of that.
I just wanted to make sure that we're on the same page, that like you were restricting some people from accessing their homes, which is kind of
well, I mean, there weren't, I mean, I think traffic wise, yeah, it would I saw a few cars that came up and just turned right back around when they saw the protest. So there were definitely a few people, but I mean, in a protest, you have a constitutional right to these things. So, and it's a public street.
Dude, I'm all for the protest. These are issues that are gonna come up.
Yeah.
We gotta work together to help solve these things.
Exactly. But I think that pales in comparison to going and blocking off the freeway, because at that point there's
completely idiotic.
I mean,
you're halting the economy when you block the freeway. There's only one way in, one way out.
Yeah, we have the 101. That's it. We can't.
There's nothing else other than that. What if there's some person driving that doesn't want anything or doesn't know anything about what's going on?
We'll put that on.
It's just, I would say unfair, but that's not the word. It's just not right.
It's not right? So during the protest, during that first day, Tiana led the group down towards the freeway, which I vehemently disagreed with. I was like, we are not going to the freeway. We're going to the police station to protest, because those are the people that are responsible for what's going on right now. And I know slow police have done some really shitty things. I've heard stories, and they haven't done anything to me personally yet other than, shooting at us at that protest. But, it's not, it's still not justified. Going on the freeway like this, but anyways, we're gonna get into. I'm gonna show you guys a little bit of what Tiana did as a leader, and I completely disagree with her as a leader, and you're gonna see why here. Obviously, you can disagree with me. I'm just gonna give you guys a little bit of context on who she is and who is leading these protests. So the first thing we gotta look at is she actively holds a car hostage, and this is violent.
And there was a 4-year-old in these cars as well.
So okay, so let's back up. Hold on. So let's back up a little bit. So this is what happens. I wasn't here personally, but as you can tell from the video, a car comes up, is trying to pull her out, try and go back into the other direction, and you'll see right now what she does. So she's running towards the car. Obviously some expletives. The car's there. The car's trying to turn around. Hear what she says. Do I let him go? And look what she does.
I'm sorry.
It's sick. It's sick. You do not hold people hostage. This is wrong. The cops are fucked, but you do not hold innocent people hostage and damage their car.
At all.
This is wrong. She's lucky that the people in Slow are so peaceful that nothing happened to these people when the mob came through. Or the protesters, sorry.
Yeah, if you did this in front of a car in Los Angeles, you would have gotten ran over.
Exactly. Like, it's not justified. What the cops do isn't justified. This isn't justified. You do not hurt innocent people. And it could have turned out a lot worse, but it's good that that's all that's happened.
Not saying the running over part is a good thing. It's just you need to defend yourself and your property and your livelihood. Like, you know.
Like, what if there was like an emergency like that car to get to the hospital because their wife's in labor or because their mom's hurt or something, and you have to get to the hospital and she's
freeway blockage wasn't someone?
Huh?
Wasn't a woman in labor?
Oh yeah, that was another thing. There was a car. I don't know that that was in another city, but there was a car on the freeway. I couldn't find this footage for you guys. But there's reports on it and everything where a car tried to drive around the protest on the freeway, and they ended up knocking in the back windshield of the car while there was a child inside.
Yeah, a 4-year-old child.
And you don't do that. You don't do that as a protester. You don't do that as a police officer. You don't do it. It's wrong. And it's simple as that. It's wrong. You don't hurt innocent people. Like, I don't know how people grow up to think that this is acceptable. But anyways, here's a little bit more showing you what kind of person Tiana is, what kind of people these protesters are. Because we left these protests when we understood who truly were the ones leading it. And I'm not saying all the protesters are bad. They don't all fight for bad things.
And these are just innocent people eating dinner with their families and friends, and she's going through telling them F your comfort.
Exactly.
Which half of them probably didn't even know what was going on or have anything to do with the Black Lives brutality and the police stuff.
If someone was really trying to promote peace too, would they really be screaming shit like this through the street like a fucking, honestly, like an animal? It's not right. Like,
well, she has a freedom of speech to do this, but
no, I'm not saying doesn't have the freedom of speech. I'm just saying like her attitude perseveres. Like, she led a fucking group of 500 people onto the freeway. Like, there's something wrong there.
Yeah.
Hey man, how old is she?
I don't know.
Like early to mid 20s.
I think she's 20.
Early to mid 20s. Like, hey, I get it. In the heat of the moment, when all eyes are on you and you're leading the charge,
I could understand
it. Of course, her objective is to get the word out to as many people as possible. And seeing a bunch of people ignore her in restaurants, or a bunch of people try to leave the protests by moving their car around, like, I could see her intention to like advocate, but you know, I think that overall that it was a mistake, and she would probably agree. I don't think she can, just because of her public image, but I mean, like, you know, people make mistakes. She's in her early 20s. Yeah. Like, I err on the side of forgiveness.
That's true. But I don't think she should go innocent from her crimes. She did commit crimes that day. And it was wrong what she did. And I was a leader. I mean, I'm not that old either. I'm 25, and I knew the correct thing to do. I knew we should go protest the cops at the police station, because those are the ones that are causing all of this, not innocent bystanders. But anyways, and there's just one more little thing. Her and her people are. So I completely agree with the freedom of speech to stomp on the flag, burn the flag, everything to do that. You should be able to do that. But this is the character of the protesters. You know, they're accepting of this. You know, just. So.
Oh my God. I can't handle someone stomping.
Fuck the flag, fuck America. I can understand why she says that, but I mean,
I understand the freedom.
What do you want to do? You want to burn down the whole system and then be the cause of even more death and destruction? No. You got to fix the system. You don't fucking destroy it. Just because there are some imperfections. And you know, I can rag on all day.
Have you heard her speak outside of this? I think that some of her press conferences speak to that. Like, she shows that her main point of her advocacy is to reduce white supremacy, and she feels that a lot of media is purposefully ignoring her and not giving her point the what's it called, the validation. Like they always bring it to the lowest common denominator, the worst protester. That's with any democracy. The weak point in a democracy is the people. So if you have a group like this that doesn't have a specified leader, I don't think that she's a specified leader. I think it's a communal, organic effort. I think that, to place all this blame, saying she's the leader, she's the one that's causing all this. Yeah. She's just one of the people trying to express how angry she is. And maybe she made a mistake.
Does that make her not a leader?
I don't think. What did she get? like 14 misdemeanors? Like
it was
overkill,
13.
Dude. Like,
I think so. I think it was a little bit overkill. But I do believe she does have crimes to pay for.
Yeah.
13 is. I know the district attorney here is bullshit because of some of the stories I've heard from people. But still, that doesn't make her innocent either. Just because other people are, not in good standing. But anyways, so yeah, we'll go to the last little accord of her. She I
hate to cut you guys off, but I gotta get going.
Yeah.
All
right.
I have some other obligations to do. I will be back next week, whenever the heck we do this again. So yeah, I'll see you guys later.
All right. Thank you, Gunnar. It was dope.
Take it easy, dog.
Yeah.
All right, man. Have a good one.
See you, Matt.
See you later. Nice talking to you. See you next week.
All right.
Man,
have a good night.
Moving
on. So just a little bit of conclusion with her. She she has about 13 to 14 misdemeanors on her thing, and her lawyer was trying to get her a plea deal to drop all of the charges, which is I don't think that's right.
What a lawyer does.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Oh, man.
True. You're probably the one to speak best to that.
Dude, I'm in my first year, so I know very little, but yeah, of course the lawyer's going to try to get her innocent on all the charges.
Yeah.
Good job.
But anyways, I do think she has to pay for some of the things that she did. I think she was definitely the cause of that one girl on the freeway getting her window bashed in. She was complicit in that. When you're a leader, you don't let the people you're leading do that. That's what a leader does. You control. You don't control your people, but you lead them and you show them the best example. And when you let things like that happen, you're not showing them the best example. So anyways, that was all of the so that's pretty much our experience at the protest. We went out the rest of the week. It was very peaceful.
About like 5 days or so.
Yeah, we went out Monday, which was the day they shot at us. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then it was Harrison's birthday on Friday, so that's when we stopped going. We never had any intention of not going back.
Yeah, we just partied all weekend.
Yeah, basically. But any of these videos started coming out, especially of Tiana and protests around the country, and it was very clear to me that the protesters were not all of the protesters, but a lot of them were not in the right mindset to do this.
Especially the first day, though. Everybody was just kind of discombobulated.
Well, see, the first day, but we had everybody.
They had everybody, but
there was everybody. You had conservatives.
I guess
You had moderates. You had liberals. There was everybody there. I was talking to a lot of people on the ground. You had people from all different walks of life come out to protest this brutality, and Anyways,
I had a statement from Chris here.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, he was saying he is really thankful for more members of the community are becoming vocally active against the state, blatantly abusing its authority against the citizens. And he is also equally concerned about the events following the death of George Floyd, giving rise to communist insurgency that thrives off the mob mentality. Mm-hmm. What do we think? Have some intercepted the wrong narrative theme from all this? Does the decisive rhetoric being, what's that word? Promulgated?
Promulgated.
Oh, that's a weird word. By this radical left jeopardize the liberty movement?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
good statement.
It was kind of like more of a, there's kind of like a question in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it? So
Like the narrative part, like.
Oh, there's 3 questions here.
Yeah.
So what do I think about the mob mentality? I think you're completely right on that.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is why we didn't go back in, because these communists and these socialists took advantage of, and radicals really took advantage of the protests for their own means. And when this was supposed to be a specific thing against, police brutality and whatnot, obviously, we all had different opinions on what the cause of this police brutality was, but that's what we were there for, to decrease this.
Yeah, and I remember a couple people in the crowd, we were saying, we're not going to go to the freeway, we're going to go to the police station and protest, because that was the appropriate place. And they're saying, don't tell people that's not anywhere, we're not in our place to say that, basically.
Okay,
which is pretty ridiculous, because we were there because of police brutality. That's the main reason, but...
Yeah, I think to your last point, I think they really, it really sabotaged this whole movement, and we could have gotten a lot more out of it if it wasn't sabotaged by communist radicals.
It was like
really, that's my opinion.
Emotionally hijacked.
When it could have been like that first day, we were all out there. Conservatives, moderates, liberals, we were all out there supporting the fact that we were all against this thing of police brutality, and we wanted to end it. And they turned off a lot of people by their divisive rhetoric. The street goes 2 ways. But I think that's it for the local stuff, anyways. Did anyone else have anything else to add?
I just wanted to add with the local stuff here in San Diego. I have a friend that goes to all the events, all the Black Matter events down in here in Oceanside in San Diego. And for the most part, they've been completely peaceful. The cops are there walking with the protesters, helping them out, keeping everybody safe. The thing that is, when things go awry, it's usually because it's the perfect environment for people to have that mob mentality. When it's like at night, everybody's masked up, you don't think you're going to get caught. And a lot of those people, like, they get lumped in with the protesters. But in reality, a lot of these protesters are trying to stop this, the people from acting and going.
Did we lose you, Matt? Can you hear
the whole
it?
thing without having a leader of the group. The down part is that the other side is always going to point to communism. It's going to point to the destructive. And on the other hand, the downside of having a leader is saying that they're responsible. I mean, look at Tiana. She's responsible for how many felonies? And I'm not sure if she was the
misdemeanors.
one that was committing those firsthand.
Yeah, but she was in charge of the group. She was responsible for those things. When you lead people, you're responsible for their actions.
Especially like the video example we showed.
I'm saying
like,
that's
should we block
why
this car? Asking a group.
Don't want to take the initiative to say this is what we stand for, because they're pegged the leader. They're the ones that are responsible if anything goes wrong, and a lot of things go wrong when you have such a broad group.
Yeah, but there's a difference between not wanting something to happen and not doing anything when a bad thing happens. Like as you guys saw with the Tiana, she could have let that car go. She asked the question, should I let him go? She should have just let him go. That's the right thing to do. Don't hold up people. Because there's a right way to do these things, and there is a wrong way to do these things. And I think she did it completely wrong. It does take a lot of balls to be a leader and be out there, but you have to realize that when you're in charge of people, you have a massive responsibility. You have to make sure that they're not going to be violent to people, and not saying anything when something bad happens is encouraging that. So that was basically the last thing I wanted to say on her, though. Anyways, I hope she doesn't get too long in there, but I do think she has some stuff to pay for.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Anyways, let's go to national stuff. So the first thing we got for this, hopefully we can talk as much on the national stuff as we did the local stuff.
I gotta go pee real quick.
But, oh my god.
Sorry, it's calling.
Okay. So anyways, here's a map of all of the protests that happened across the country. Obviously some of these dots represent more than just one protest happening. Obviously Portland, Seattle, those are protests that happened almost, on a daily basis. I was actually watching the protests, there was like 120 day row of them protesting up in Portland. And I was watching like every night all the live streams of the protesters attacking the cops coming in and arresting the protesters, and really just brutality from both sides. But yeah, it does look like there were a lot of protests in San Diego, and you were saying, Matt, that a lot of those didn't get violent.
The only time it got violent was when the conditions allowed for people that weren't about the movement at all to be inside, like take advantage of being a part of the mob. I mean, everybody's wearing a mask. It's harder to identify people. Yeah. And if it's nighttime especially, like, things are happening. But for the most part, they've done a really good job at keeping everything peaceful and about the message. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, big respect to everybody that's doing their best to keep it about, like, police brutality and how to stop it instead of, having it divulge into just chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a protest map?
So, yeah, these are all the protests that happened over the George Floyd.
Oh, my God.
And I was just saying that these dots can represent more than just one protest. Obviously they can be reoccurring protests in the same place. Yeah. You can see lots of them out in the Northeast.
There's
really just all across America. You can see this is something that we were all upset about. This wasn't a thing that was just isolated to one population. A lot of people would say Republican, more conservative states didn't have anything, but this map flies in the face of that. And thinking about the demographics, or at least the political demographics in those cities, there had to have been a large, probably still a minority, but a large proportion of conservative-leaning people in these protests, at least at the beginning. Obviously, once it started going off, couple weeks in, days in, when the communists and the radicals started taking over, they probably left. But
I'm just saying, down here in San Diego, like, I have not met anyone that's, like, thinking the movement is super communist. Like, that might be something they hold separately, but, like, I think it's very divisive and aimed to dismantle the movement. I think that's the goal. I mean, I don't want to say that this is the reason, but...
I mean, were you there on the ground, though, Matt? Like, because we were on the ground. We saw, we saw hammers and sickles. We saw the Antifa flag. Like, these people were communists. Yeah. They were socialists.
No, this is the interview I had with my buddy. I'm going to protect his name to protect the
answer, but, of course.
Yeah. But, yeah, no, this is the Oceanside protest. It was very peaceful. They were letting cars through, so I guess that speaks to you doing the right thing.
Yeah.
They were just walking in the middle of the street and letting cars pass. Slower than usual, but still letting them pass.
Yeah.
So I think big ups down here. They're not... I think they're sticking to the message of the movement.
Yeah.
Well, good. That's how it should have been from the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So obviously, a couple places that were really important in this. Portland went off, like I was just saying, for over 100 days. Seattle went off. There was the CHAZ there, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, where the protesters basically walled off a freaking a couple acres of the downtown area of space, and they put up blocks and everything, and they even had armed guards patrolling the streets, and a couple people died in the CHAZ. There were, I remember a story that came out of there, I should have got these links for you, but you guys can look this up, of a car that was driving through. There was a couple teens in it. They were going a little bit too fast, and I may not be describing exactly how it happened, but from what I remember, they were driving through the CHAZ like a little bit faster than everybody else was, and some of the quote-unquote protectors there, or the people that they had armed there, the protesters, they opened fire on the car, and a teenager ended up dead. Another one ended up in the hospital with critical injuries. So I mean, that if that doesn't speak to what like how bad things can get when you don't have good leaders in charge, like I don't know what else does. Because when somebody dies, in your protest, there's somebody leading that, and it's your responsibility that they died. Like the CHAZ was just. I support the idea of what they did, because there are a lot of very wrong things that the government is doing that need to be protested, and especially this whole thing with police brutality. I don't even disagree with them walling off the downtown area, but when you start, committing violence and doing the same thing that you're going against, it's wrong. It's just, it all comes back to just don't hurt innocent people. Like, that's what all goes around, and that's what we're fighting against the cops, and this is what I'm writing against here, against the protesters. Mm-hmm. It's just you don't hurt innocent people. It's easy as that. Another big thing happened, happened over in Minneapolis. This is I don't want to get too much into the Rittenhouse thing, but you guys can look up the videos of what happened. It was just, it was completely violent. It was wrong. I think Rittenhouse was in the right with what he did, but he wasn't it wasn't a wise decision being in that area at all.
No, he's a 17-year-old kid, right?
Yeah, 17.
I mean, yeah, he thought he was standing up for something, made a mistake, and it ended up with someone dying. Like, there's nothing to be said about, like, he acted justly or unjustly. It's like, that's not the point. It's look at the practical impact of what happened, and, like, we gotta try to make moves to make sure that doesn't happen in the future.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the whole point of the movement. Black Lives Matter. They're trying to protect Black lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Good point.
Not trying to put them at risk. That's like the opposite of the of the movement.
Well, I mean, the funny thing with the Rittenhouse thing is all 3 people that he shot were all white. So, I mean, they were in the BLM movement, but obviously there for the protests and whatnot. Rosenbaum is the only one I think that didn't have good intentions. He was the one that got shot and killed first. He was
the one that pulled a gun out on him, didn't he?
No, he was just he ran up to him and tried to take his gun away, and that's when Rittenhouse turned around and shot him.
Oh, the first guy. Sorry.
And you can think what you want if that's justified or not, but he tried to take his property, and there's only one thing you can do in a situation where people are trying to hurt you or take your property, and that's to defend yourself. So
yeah, and to take all law and like everything out of it, taking a person's gun is probably not a good idea.
Yeah, just practicality wise, it's not a wise decision.
Wrong. It's a hard move to pull off.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I didn't want to get too much into him, but so the next thing I really wanted to get into that made me really, really sad and mad, and this is one of the things where I just completely started going against at least what the actions of the protesters and not the movement of the protesters, was my hero Rand Paul getting attacked by the protesters. You can see that from the Guardian.
This was disgusting when I saw this.
So Rand Paul, for those of you who don't know, he authored the Breonna Taylor Act, which bans no-knock raids, which would have effectively, if this would have been law before Breonna Taylor, she might still be alive. So these protesters attacking Rand Paul is completely backwards because he's the one fighting for them. Yeah. He's the one writing the bills in Congress. He's a senator trying to fight for them. He's the one. Oh, it makes me so mad. I mean, you guys can see here, he didn't get hurt because he had a lot of good protection there, with the police that were there. Yeah. But as you can see, people try to start moving in, and protester pushes the cop into Rand. Rand's trying to help the cop out, dude. He's not even trying to get out of there. And it just shows you how good of a person Rand Paul is. He doesn't only care about himself. He cares about other people, man. And when I saw it, it made me so furious, really, to see my hero getting attacked when he's one of the only senators fighting for this. Or like I
haven't heard of any other senator or try to push an act or a law like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are, but. Anyways, it hit close to home because I've met Rand Paul. He's been my hero for the last 10 years. He's basically the reason I'm in politics. And to watch him getting attacked by the people who say that they support what he's done in action is just, it's wrong. But anyways, what do you have any thoughts on that, Matt?
No, just the same thing. Like, I feel like a lot of people aren't as deep into politics as you. and they just see a man getting protected by police, pretty much the people that they see as a threat to their community, like acting on impulse, mob mentality. Like, I think it's easy to throw stones, and I think especially in America we have a fear culture where it's not only helpful to our economy but also our politicians to produce fear. But the end result of that fear is stuff like this. Is protesters so fearful of the others, so fearful that their tribe is going to be infringed upon, that they take overt actions to attack others.
Yeah.
And, we got to remember that we're all on the same team, and we're all trying to fix these problems that, hurt America.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're completely right on that. And I'm going to show you guys we're going to get into the results of the protest, and just to give you guys, this is from the Senate.gov website of Senator Rand Paul introducing the Justice for Breonna Taylor Act. As you can see here, to prohibit no-knock warrants which allow law enforcement officials to forcibly enter a home without announcing their authority or purpose, which I think is completely unconstitutional. I think that when there's a warrant put out for your arrest or something, I think the cops and law enforcement, they have a duty to tell you what your crime was and let their presence be known. Like, this is exactly the case with Breonna Taylor, because these cops came in and they didn't know who they were. So Breonna Taylor's boyfriend started shooting at him when they started breaking into their house. And it's like, how do you know they're cops? There's no way to know that that's a cop breaking into your house. I would have done the same thing. I would have shot people trying to come into my house, trying to break in after not announcing themselves. So this is...
You have a right to.
Exactly. You have a right to. And it's so disgusting that they're trying to charge him with... I think they're trying to charge Breonna Taylor's boyfriend with manslaughter or not manslaughter, because it was assault with a deadly weapon, I think, because he hit a officer in the leg. But he got shot too. So it's like... And his girlfriend died. I would be so...
Yeah.
Like, this is why we were out there. This is exactly why I went out there. To protest all of this crap. It's all wrong.
Now, do we have the official story? Because I've been getting conflicting information. I heard that, I forget which podcast it was, but I heard that it turns out the police did knock and knocked loudly, but I'm not sure how true that is.
Yeah,
it's so hard to differentiate between the fake news because it's so politically tied.
Yeah. So the cops could be lying in that case, but I think the most likely case of what happened is that in the story there were cops in the front door and Breonna and her boyfriend were chilling in there, or they were asleep in their back room. Well, actually, I don't think they were asleep. They were probably watching like something really loud, and the cops, if this was true, if they're telling the truth, them announcing themselves at the door, banging, if they have something loud on, they're not going to be able to hear that from a back room, especially when the cops are outside and they're in another room.
Especially like when I play music all day. I can't hear shit when people are out knocking on the front door. At all. Yeah,
you're just gonna hear the banging. You're not gonna hear the voices of the people outside. So that, I think, I don't know, because I wasn't there, but I think that's the most likely case, is that they were watching a loud movie or something in the back, and the cops may have announced themselves, but were banging, and that's what they heard. They heard the banging and the breaking in, and that's when Breonna Taylor's boyfriend got his gun, obviously to defend himself, to defend his girlfriend, and to defend their property. And if this bill, I mean, obviously it came out after the fact, but if something like this would have been put in place before, maybe we would have had a different circumstance for that. But if the cops were telling the truth, what do you do in that situation where they don't hear that that the police are at their door, and I don't know, what do you do? Like, if the police are telling the truth, what do you do in that situation?
I just say it's a bad fucking coincidence. It's a bad circumstance, man. I don't know what else to say. I mean, other than the Breonna Taylor Act that is being made. There's shit like this happens for a reason, and we gotta fix it, and we have to implement a just and simple way to fix it.
Exactly.
If this never happened, then this new act would never
been put through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's what I said after the fact.
Yeah.
But,
so I mean, if
wh-
if it never happened,
Yeah.
more
Yeah,
things
just a
like this could
question about
happen.
it real quick.
Yeah.
Now, will this bill that he's trying to pass, will this include like kidnappings, or is this only drug cases, or what is the no-knock
It's
warrant relating
all, it's everything. It's all no-knock warrants. So police would have to announce themselves every single time before, moving into arrest somebody, basically.
to? Got you.
Yeah, because
Okay.
a lot of the times, with a no-knock warrant, they'll just go in, people don't know like exactly what happened here, and then people get shot, and
Or even like the more police officers could end up dead. Not even like
Mhm.
this is the civilians.
exactly.
Casualties on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
No, I get you. I think no-knock warrant. I'd have to see a better argument for no-knock warrants. I don't know how it would protect the officers really,
Mhm.
and I think that the analysis of being like,
Well,
well, you're more likely to get shot if they don't know you're police is a really
Mhm.
good argument.
I think the police take responsibility of that. When you sign up to be a police officer, I don't think you get all these fluff niceties. You're going in there to hold up the law, and you have to hold up not just the law but the Constitution. You take an oath, and that's really serious. When you take an oath, you're giving your word that you're going to defend something, and a lot of these cops are not defending it. It's just mincemeat. Our Constitution and the rest of the laws that are supposed to protect us as citizens, and it's being completely ignored. Because we have everything in place to protect us, but nobody's following it. So it's like, what do you do? And you get protests like this. This is why everything's happening, is because unjust acts are happening. But anyways, we're going to get into a little bit more of the results here. Almost through here with the first episode. So I just want to go over a couple of these. So this was a big result of the protest, that Minneapolis lawmakers vowed to disband the city's police department less than 2 weeks after the Floyd's death. And this did happen. They defunded the police department, and I think it was a couple months later they actually had to reinstate them because crime rates were going up so high. And that's not in this story. But you guys can look it up. You guys can see that Minneapolis, they had to bring back in police because they defunded the police without funding any other action from other jurisdictions, from like social workers and whatnot, which, I really agree with the whole defunding the police and giving a lot of the responsibilities of police officers to other government workers, social workers or anyone else for that matter. There's a good graphic of it. I'm sure you guys have seen that one meme where the police officer is holding up all these balls on top of him of all the different things that they have to put up with, and then if you defunding them would have separate police would only deal with the most violent of crimes, where you have other workers dealing with the less violent things, so you don't end up with these police interactions ending in death or hurt or death really. So that's what happened in Minneapolis. What is some other stuff? So this is another good thing. A lot of states.
I just.
Oh, go ahead, Matt. What was that?
I was just gonna say that, defunding the police, literally taking out all the money to the police. I think that's a deliberate, misconstruing of their statement. For most people that I've seen locally, what they mean by defund the police is they mean relocate some of those funds to fire department resources or social workers.
Yeah.
Or like you're saying, community outreach for that 3.5 non-crime percent, stuff like that. So I think that they knew when they defunded all the police what would happen. There's no way you could. I just don't believe that anyone was taking that argument that couldn't foresee that happening.
What the rise of violence?
Not having any police.
Yeah. Obviously, I
think they're misconstruing that on purpose.
Yeah. And that goes to the point we can't ever get rid of the police fully because they do provide a very necessary function of the government, to be a moderator in these situations. and make sure we're not all killing each other over a disagreement. You know, so they do have a very good, or not good, but a very important role to play in civilization. And that's where the problems are coming from, is they're not playing their role in a moral or just way. And that's what we really need to change, is we need to get back to that form of policing where it's protecting people rather than going after people. And, you know, we can do that by getting rid of laws on the books, defunding the police by branching out that funding, and everything. But anyways, this next point is a lot of officials in a couple states, Washington, D.C., California, Nevada, Texas, they banned chokeholds, reviewed police reforms, and that, I think that's really good.
They banned chokeholds, huh?
Yeah, I heard this from a lot of people.
So cops that was like a move they could do legally and
to subdue somebody, a chokehold.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, there's an argument to say that chokeholds are a safer way of subduing somebody, but obviously George Floyd died over it. So, you know, you got to do something about these, and, you know, seeing somebody getting choked out by the cops is not a good image at all.
No.
You know, I think there are better ways to deal with people.
Instead of choking them out.
Yeah, because choking them, I mean, your neck is very important to your neck, leads to your brain.
Well, the George Floyd thing, like, would it really been, how many officers did they have on top of them? Like
4. There's 4 officers there.
So that's 8 hands.
Mm-hmm.
I mean.
Yeah, you had.
Okay, so if they were really having trouble, they could have got 2 handcuffs, got one on each. Like 2 separate pairs of handcuffs. If he was moving around so much, they could have just hooked those 2 together to his hands.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because the real problem would be getting his arms into position to actually getting them handcuffed, right? That's why they had to stand on his neck.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
well, the thing is, he said he wanted to be on the ground, which as a police officer, you should have just been like, they should have just put him in the car, to be honest. Well, actually, no, I think they tried to, but then, you know, he didn't want to do it. But anyways, they should, if he wanted to be on the ground, just cuff him and leave him on the ground. Why do you have to have 4 officers on somebody when they're already cuffed on the ground?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
And if you're really that worried about it, like, hold a taser on him.
Yeah.
Like, why you gotta fucking stand on his neck for however long you did?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
If I was the cop, I'd be like, all right, just chill there, or else I'm gonna fucking tase you.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah. And then, of course, the Democrats in Congress, they put up some reform. I think most of it's virtue signaling, but, I mean, of course, I think a few people were really trying to do the right thing in this sense.
Yeah.
Banning chokeholds, forcing police officers to use body cameras and dashboard cameras, which is fully justified. I think every cop should have a body camera on them running at all times. And if you turn that body camera off, I think you should be liable for a crime. Because anything done when that camera is off is suspect. You know, there have been a lot of cases out where a cop turns off their camera, some shady shit happens, they turn it back on, they're like, oh, look what happened here. Somebody, you know, got beat up.
Deliberately covers it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I found some drugs or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were just watching a video how a body camera, he forgot to turn it off, which is the point we're making here. And it caught these cops planting drugs in this guy's car. And it's like, if we had these body cameras running at all times, we'd catch all of that shit. You know? So I think that the Democrats were on the right pathway here. Forcing police officers... Go ahead.
Sorry, I think an argument that I hear from some police officers is that they would love to have cameras, but to have a system that allowed them to operate with cameras and have everything accessible would be overly expensive. So they're saying that defunding the police works against this end, but I mean, I don't think anyone really takes the time. It's like I was saying before, so easy to throw stones just saying do it, but no one puts in the effort to say, okay, this is how we're going to allocate money.
Yeah.
You know, this is how this is what we would like to take away from the police. This is what we think shouldn't, like, you know, they have those military vehicles.
Yeah. I was just gonna say.
It's like, you know, that type of stuff. but no one actually takes the time to go through and make an initiative. We have that power in California to say, this is what we want change. So, I mean, if anyone listening really cares about defunding the police and wants to put together like a spreadsheet or something that would show what they would do as a different action, a means to like, maybe they have a certain plan, I think that's the type of like mentality we got to be spreading. Instead of being so destructive and pointing at the flaws too, we also have to be thinking about what we can do practically to change it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like in the meantime.
Yeah. Practical solutions are the best solutions.
Yeah.
Because you go through this, an ideological route, most of the time you're not going to get there because you're going to turn off a lot of people. But if you're practical about things like body cameras and getting rid of tanks, or basically tanks that cops have and military equipment that they have, I think that's pretty common sense to not let cops have military equipment to use on citizens. It's that's an easy one for me. But anyways, let's go through a little bit more of this. Yeah, people are obviously more inclined to videotape officers now, especially for anything that's going on. It's a good thing we all have cameras now with us, so we can automatically, view what's or record what's happening between an officer and a citizen, just to make sure they're on point, we're on point. I think it just makes everything better to have everything exposed and everything out in the open, rather than trying to cover it up. Because that's where corruption breeds, is darkness. So that's a little bit what I wanted to say about that. Toppling statues, I think, is a non-issue. I was actually going to bring this up. I don't think toppling Confederate statues is going to do much for police brutality. I mean, in Arcata, where I used to live, we petitioned, or I didn't petition, but they petitioned the city council to get rid of a William McKinley statue, and we didn't need no protest. We didn't need nobody, taking it down. We had a vote, and the vote got passed, and it got taken down peacefully, and now it's in some museum somewhere. So that's how you gotta. This is blatant destruction of property, and that's history. Like, obviously, I don't support the Confederates or anything like that, but go through legal means here. Don't be destructive.
Yeah. This just reminds me of like how history destroys history. Like, again, the Romans destroyed the great library of Alexandria in Egypt. The modern day Iraqis, when the Iraqi war was happening, there's a giant amount of defacing of statues and like texts and things where hieroglyphics and cuneiform were in Iraq, which was ancient Sumerian. So like the defacing of history only hurts us in the long run, because we may have like a thought of how something happened, but if we're literally tearing down statues that were put up for a reason, so we remember, like a certain thing, like like depicting slavery, of us getting over that, like even if it is a conservative statue, we have no right to pull that down because
we're not even conservative. It's Confederate.
Sorry, wrong word. Yeah, but you know what I was trying to say.
I mean, they were
not conservative, Confederate. Yeah.
But I mean, they tore down statues of one of the great black abolitionists of the 1870s. I forgot his name. Do you remember the name of the guy who I'm pretty sure he worked with Lincoln? He was an African American.
I do not.
There's a lot of statues of him. I can't remember. One of you guys probably remembers who I'm talking about now, but his statue got torn down, and he's an African American, or he was an African American fighting against slavery, and these protesters tore his statue down, completely just unaware of their own history and what they were doing. But
unaware of their own history and unaware of what they're doing to future's history.
Everybody wants change as quickly as possible, and physical change, something to be seen as a victory. But it's not really productive.
It's not productive.
It's a long road, and that's the hardest part, is endurance.
Yeah. Okay, and then actually, it might say here, Jefferson What else? They probably won't say it because this is Business Insider. Yeah, I forgot his name. Anything else here? I think the rest of it's pretty.
All right. What do we got next? What do we got coming up?
Oh, I was just saying. There's a couple things here. I was just making. Have to address institutional racism. Step down. No, that's nothing. I don't know. Basically, the rest of this is just virtue signaling, which doesn't have anything to do with actually addressing the issue, like canceling cops, CEOs stepping down. There's another one, Aunt Jemima being removed. I think that's actually counter to their point, because I think having
a black face on a syrup bottle would be better than not having one in general.
Well, Aunt Jemima, it was based on an actual person, yeah, who loved to cook, as an African American, and they're just completely removing her image, and I think it's backwards. It's
completely backwards. Yeah.
I think it's respectful to have the creative of a product on something. It doesn't matter if they're white or black or Asian.
It's like a what's the word? Not like a homage, but like it's like it's like a dedication to that person.
Exactly.
Like, it's disrespect, straight up in the first place. Like, let's say, I made this song and everybody knew I made it and I was dead. It's been 70 years and my face was on it, And all of a sudden it's owned by like Sony and it doesn't have my face on it anymore, you know. There'd be something wrong about that,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about.
Well, yeah. What's your opinion on all the virtue signaling kind of stuff?
I'm speaking out of my breath here. I think that if people find it offensive, that Aunt Jemima syrup's gonna lose money. Like that's one of the best parts about capitalism. It's like, if you're doing something that is perceived as offensive, like even if your intention isn't to be offensive, I think a good case about that is the weight loss bar called AIDS. That was around before the AIDS epidemic.
What?
Like, yeah.
I didn't know about this. Oh, man. All right, inform us.
The company decided to keep the name instead of rebrand.
Oh.
So it's like,
yeah.
Exactly. You got to be smart as a company, and you got to be, you got to be in touch with the people that are buying your products.
Yeah.
So, yeah, dude, I'm not sure on the whole imaging thing. I just I don't know enough about it to really make a call here, but I think that that's one of the best parts about capitalism is that like the people do have a voice by choosing what they buy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
I agree with you there. And I don't, the company has every right to make that decision. It's their product. So if they want to remove a face, it's up to them. But I don't.
The repercussions of like all the protests. It's just funny to see like the outcomes on the economy like this.
Yeah.
It's kind of silly, more or less.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. The next thing with results, we were just talking about one of the big results that a lot of people would say is that that Biden winning the presidential election was cause or was an effect of all the protests. So we're gonna go a little bit into his history, especially with the crime bill. We're going to Vox here. This is a left-wing site. This is not a conservative site at all. Just to let you guys know, so we get a good view on who Biden actually is. And this was updated September 29th. So it wasn't during the primaries. They're really trying to see what was wrong with him. So as you can see here, the crime law passed by Congress, which was meant to reverse decades of rising crime, was one of the key contributors to mass incarceration in the 1990s. And they say it led to more prison sentences, more prison cells, and more aggressive policing, especially hurting black and brown Americans who are disproportionately likely to be incarcerated. So I think really that crime bill that he passed in the 1990s, it's contributing a lot to what we're seeing today. It's criminalizing a lot more things that need to be criminalized, and it says here that they put in more things against. It was the war on drugs, so they put in more. What does it say here? So before that, Biden was bragging that he got the liberal wing of the party to get 60 new types of death penalties, 70 new types of enhanced penalties, 100,000 new cops, and 125,000 new state prison cells.
Whoa.
So I don't understand how that doesn't contribute to what we're seeing today with these protests. I think it's a direct result.
It has to be.
I think Biden is directly he's directly responsible for what we're seeing right now in the BLM movement and these violent actions that police officers are doing to citizens. And also an enhanced drug-related arrests, an escalation of the war on drugs, non-violent crimes, obviously. And this is what all of it did. And this is what is leading to that thing I showed you guys in the beginning, those interactions between police and the citizenry. This is what led to it, really. And I'm not saying we shouldn't address criminal, and increasing criminal acts, but the way Biden didn't and the way he's bragging about it, or how he bragged about it back then, it's very telling as to what it's going to bring in the future. I don't think much is going to be done by the Biden administration about this, but and we can see a couple more things here. We're going to go in, and did you have anything to say about Biden, Matt?
No, I haven't. I didn't read the law. I don't know its effects, so I have nothing to say. I don't know what I'm talking about, so I'm not going to say anything.
Okay. All right. And then
Fair, right? If I don't know anything, why put in my stupid ass opinion?
Yeah.
Yeah, shut up, Matt.
I'm
I'm just kidding. We love you.
We're almost done. We're just gonna go into Kamala here.
I'm getting hungry, man.
We're almost done. So this is not just a little thing I wanted to go in with about Kamala Harris.
Camila.
Along with her trying to put a lot of people in jail for nonviolent drug offenses, what she did. You guys can look that up. She actively led to a lot more people getting arrested for nonviolent crimes, but that pales in the comparison to what she did here. So in February this year, Gavin Newsom ordered new DNA testing in the 1983 murder case of Kevin Cooper. Cooper came within hours of execution in 2004 after being charged with the murders of an adult couple and 2 children. And Harris opposed the DNA testing when she was the state's attorney general. So I don't know what the thought process is to not get DNA testing on a case, because DNA testing, going through genetics, having my background in microbiology, it's the gold standard.
It would definitely prove that he did it or not.
It would definitively prove. And if you're saying you're opposed to a definitive answer on whether this guy did something or not, I think there's some bad intentions there. I couldn't say exactly what was going through her head when when she was opposing the testing. Of course, now she comes out and says that it was a mistake, but there's a reason why you oppose testing. And my best guess is to keep her record high, because if that would have came out under her, it would have showed that the State Department of California would have been wrong in their decision to put this guy on death row in the first place. So it would make her record look worse. That's just
that maybe so.
Yeah,
that may be so.
It's just
how new was DNA testing at the time, and did she know how accurate it was?
So this
we've had things where we've used as gold standards before, such as polygraph tests. And even the person that made the polygraph says the way that police are using it now is completely misused and is used to get convictions when otherwise they wouldn't.
Polygraphs are completely different. I mean, if you going through psychology courses, polygraphs are there's a less than 50% rate that they actually work. So there's a lot of evidence to say that polygraph tests have no basis. They should have no basis as evidence. Maybe it's a good thing to bring up, but I don't think polygraph should ever be used as evidence. When they came out, people thought they were crazy, but
I'm saying how recent was DNA and how much had it been used?
So DNA started coming in.
Hold on. I pulled this up on Google. It says in 1986 was when DNA was first used in criminal investigations by Dr. Jeffries.
So it was 1986. And this what I'm talking about happened in 2004 when Harris opposed it. So the science is clear by 2004.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought it was in 1980.
No. This is 2004.
Well, they had all the
Okay.
time, or they had the
That's
evidence.
completely
Right?
different. I can see
Yeah.
where you're coming from now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyways, it just shows that Biden and his running mate Kamala, who were selected to be president, vice president, I think things are only going to get worse. I think there's going to be another Floyd instance and nothing's going to happen and there's going to be more protests. And that's not saying that Trump did a good job. I think the only good thing that he did in terms of criminal justice was releasing a couple hundred nonviolent drug offenders. Really, he didn't do anything much more than getting something in line with he had a platinum plan going with Ice Cube and a few other prominent African Americans, but since he's not going to be president, we don't know what that's going to be. But anyways, I don't think he did anywhere near enough, almost nothing to help criminal justice out. And obviously, it led to a lot more divisiveness in our society now. But just one more little link here about a public defender opinion of when Kamala was a district attorney, and he says, and this is a public defender of California. He was this is from SF Weekly. He's from San Francisco, and he says, anytime I've asked the district attorney for a meeting, I've been told the district attorney is out of town or not available. And he later says, we need a district attorney who will give this the attention it deserves. So this is just basically showing Kamala Harris's record on criminal justice, and it looks like nothing's gonna happen with her record. She can say all she wants about this kind of stuff, but her record shows and proves otherwise. I hope differently. I hope Biden and Kamala can really pull something off. I really
Pray
hope
to God.
Yeah, I hope they get pushed by the more I guess progressive wing of their party to actually do something about criminal justice reform, but from their records, it doesn't look like they're going to do much. So,
We'll see.
Did you guys have anything to add to that?
Yeah, are we about to wrap up?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so give up or I'll tell you when we're concluding this thing. It's like...
Yeah, well, I'm going to get off right now if that's okay. I'm just going to say a little thing and then leave.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
But yeah, thanks for having me this week. I'm definitely down to do it again. If anyone out there has any arguments against anything I was saying or any points that weren't raised, I'd love to hear them. I just, the point's to learn, and the point isn't to, hate someone for what they think. It's to change their minds.
Exactly.
So I'm totally accepting. That's what we're here for. Please, even if you just want to tell me I have a nasally voice, that's cool too, man.
Man.
Hopefully we get this thing going, and I like you guys, and I'm really glad to be a part of this. Thank you.
Hell yeah! Thanks for showing up and being a great discusser here.
Yeah.
I don't think we could have done it without you.
I like you too, Matt.
I like you guys.
I like you.
I'm signing off. Thanks for having me. Hopefully one day I could be there with you.
Yeah, dude, you should come up for actual physical episode.
And then
dude.
I could
get
give
you
you
on the
a
camera.
hug.
Yeah, we'll get the COVID and social distancing going.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. But yeah, that was basically the episode. I think that the protests they're gonna keep going. I think there's gonna be counter protests, and also there's gonna be protests about COVID lockdowns.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's gonna be one of the big things that people are gonna be protesting in the future, and it's a good segue into our episode next week, which is gonna be all about COVID lockdowns. I'm gonna be breaking down some really bombshell sources for you guys.
Yep.
So just to lead you guys through the actual science here, because I've been through. I've written scientific papers, I've read them, I understand them. I have a bachelor's of science in microbiology. I've done all of this, so I understand the science. So if you guys want to get a true, unbiased, well, I'm biased, but a true account and expose of what's going on with COVID, come back next week because I'm going to expose all of it. It's very easy to see with what I have. So it's just a little cliffhanger on what we're going to bring you guys next week. But yeah, anything else you want to say, Harry?
I also have some special information on the COVID episode.
has a lot to do with how COVID has affected the entertainment industry in general. Local businesses that have closed, local musicians, just revolving around the whole subject of not being able to socialize and or what humans do to go out and gather. So
Yeah, but that's gonna be the next episode. Thank you guys for everybody that's tuning in. We're gonna get this video up on YouTube, BitChute, Twitch, everything we can. We got a nice little intro and a nice little jingle for you guys that go watch it on YouTube.
You'll like it.
So go hit up the YouTube page, subscribe. There's a link to it on the channel. For some reason you can't find it through YouTube, but yeah, I really hope I informed some of you guys. If I was wrong on anything, you think I was wrong on anything, factually, let me know. I don't want to be misleading anybody. Like I said, I really want to bring the best information to my friends and family here so that we can all have a better understanding of what we need to do for the future.
Together.
Together. So, really, thank you guys once again, and we will see you all next week for the COVID episode.
It's gonna be spicy.
It's gonna be spicy. All right, later, guys.
Peace.